What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So I want to talk on the good news that did come out for Lucid today, especially it puts it in a little bit more of a positive light. But last week we had a lot of good momentum, and unfortunately this week it appears that it just got completely killed. So I'm going to be talking on why it got killed, go over some updated data points, and potentially where we might be going in the short term. But getting right to it though, live ticker is going at the very bottom, down 1.4%. Some things to take away are volume. Our volume is substantially low. So we've been open roughly about 2 hours and only 5 million in volume and 282,000 for block volume. So institutions purchasing, which is very, very low. There's a lot of different things that potentially could be the cause of that. There is a lot of fear in the market. We have gone up quite a lot, but tomorrow is GDP numbers. So maybe a lot of institutions are taking a step back. And keep in mind as well, what I mentioned, the block volume column, that is a secondary market. That's purchasing being done on the same exchange that you and I trade on. But I've been bringing up the dark pool over the last little bit. There's only been one transaction today, 356,000, which isn't bad at the end of the day, but still is substantially lower. So again, it might be one point that we all need to watch for, that institutions are clearly taking a step back today. Maybe they are insinuating that GDP numbers are going to be a lot worse than what we are expecting. But again, that is more of a precursor, a little bit more of a sidestep, but good news that did come out today. So you can see right here is Lucid Group, a good choice for auto manufacturers on Monday. And ultimately it does appear that Lucid is ranked number 73, insinuating that they are higher than 73% of all the stocks, which in reality is fairly good. And when it comes down to auto manufacturers, it has a score of 100%, showing once again that they are 100% greater, more attractive than any other manufacturer out there. So take that how you see that. I see that as a very big deal if you ask me. But looking right here, because my first thought was it says the score. What is comprised in the score? But it does appear that it goes based on the overall score as a combination of technical and fundamental factors that serves as a good starting point when analyzing a stock. So take that how you see that. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But on a side note, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence. At the end of the day, this is only for entertainment purposes, and I hope you are entertained by this. So when it gets down to it though, why did we get killed for our momentum? I'm just going to pop over to Interactive Brokers. I like to use them for a lot of good information. If you do want to take a look at Interactive Brokers, click on the link in the description below or in the comments. Just play around. It has a lot of good information. But first and foremost, so what happened in November of 2021? Jim Cramer started to come out saying that Rivian and Lucid are a bubble. That basically set the precursor of our downtrend, because when big names do say that, whether it be Meet Kevin or Jim Cramer or other institutions or whatever it might be, when big people who have big followings start to set something, whether it has no credibility or not, it largely becomes reality. Similarly, what happened over the weekend. So why Lucid Group stock looks more vulnerable than Tesla and other peers. So in here they do talk on NIO, Polestar, Rivian, they talk about them all, even Li Auto. At the end of the day, it goes to show, and it compares the cash burn rate, it compares absolutely everything, and they do feel that Lucid is a little bit more of a disadvantage compared to its peers. So this is what it's talking about. I personally feel that is completely BS. Like I said though, I'm not a financial advisor, but that take away from this though, a lot of big names on Twitter, which aka were mostly Tesla fanboys, were all distributing this massively. So again, whether there is a little credibility to this, it became very much true. So now a lot of retail investors make second guesses about Lucid. Makes you second guess your investment. This is why I always say, do your own due diligence, trust your gut. As long as nothing fundamentally has changed with the underlying asset, why you decided to invest in Lucid or whatever floats your boat, then don't change it. Don't listen to a lot of the FUD, regardless of how many followers, subscribers, or whatever they are. They all have their own best interest at heart. So this is why I feel on Monday we kind of got killed a lot more than any other growth stock, any other EV out there. So that's my own 2 cents, especially as well. There was also other factors such as the yields and stuff like that. But today is causing a lot of doubt, more so because of this. Li Auto is doing a $2 billion. They're selling new stock, so dilution. So issuing $2 billion is no small fact whatsoever. But at the end of the day, this, once again, when anything happens to one EV, it usually has a little bit more of a domino or trickle down effect. So a lot of people now say, you know what, if Li Auto needs $2 billion, what is going to come for Lucid, what is going to come for Rivian, things like that. Unfortunately, it's a sad truth. But in Lucid's case, though, they've said in previous earnings that they have sufficient cash up until the tail end of 2023, which is fairly good. Even if there is a recession, we are golden. And at the end of the day, even if we do come into a lot of financial hardship, I do feel that the PIF is going to support us. We have the big brother who has almost unlimited amount of funds, and they have a big dependence on Lucid. So I don't think that they will ever let Lucid fail, regardless of what a lot of people think. So that's my own 2 cents, though, but this is ultimately why we were down yesterday, why we're down today a little bit. And not only that, though, shorts have been really getting into a lot of growth stocks. They've been kind of dormant for the last little bit. They didn't know whether there was going to be a epic rally or overdue rally, things like that. But it does appear over the last several days they are getting in. Even today, only 550,000 shares, so a little bit more flat. First thing in the morning, they were up roughly about 1.5%. It has gone down a little bit, but still, in this regard, though, some points you really want to watch for is cost to borrow. Look at this. Cost to borrow max, 120%. Cost to borrow average, 66%. So at the end of the day, it is becoming very costly for shorts to maintain their positions. But despite that, they are still increasing. So that's usually a little bit more of a bearish sign, especially if you do couple that with a lot of the technicals that's coming out. Unfortunately, we are getting to very pivotal points, and I've been saying that over the last little bit. So on here, I do have the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, Bollinger Bands, RSI, stochastic, and momentum. So on stochastic, you can see there is that deviation exactly happening today. So red line above the black showing a bearish trend is starting to kind of form. Momentum, number of buyers is down a little bit today, and today as well on the actual chart. We have had such a battle. We attempted to get over this 50-day moving average. We were successful, but unfortunately it does appear that we did break it today. Again, it's one of those things we most likely will be flirting with it or kind of playing around with it for the remainder of today, and hopefully we don't have enough potential continuation of a downtrend to break below that successfully. Unfortunately, a lot of things is kind of up in the air, right? I think overall a lot of people are really going to be watching the GDP numbers, and in reality, the only thing that could dictate really massive movements. But overall, though, I think a lot of people are still on edge. But when it comes down to it, though, there's mixed signals, right? So we have institutions like I've already talked about, JP Morgan. JP Morgan was insinuating that there's going to be a 7% increase this week, largely because of portfolio rebalancing. So you kind of get mixed signals right now, because there's institutions that are saying that, you know what, it's massive recession. You get other institutions that are saying, you know what, it's the time to buy. If anything, we're actually going to be going up 7%, which is very oddly specific, but still. And even behind the scenes, you see a lot of institutions backing up the bus massively. So again, it's one of those things you don't really know where to go, and especially for a typical retail investor that has a lot of emotion that they are playing with, possibly money that they couldn't really afford to lose. Though there is some fundamental kind of investing rules. Number one, don't invest in any money that you are not willing to 100% lose. That is number one. Number two, do not invest with emotion. Emotion definitely kills and makes you second guess your due diligence. So those are some things that I personally learned. I know I've been investing since 2009, and I've made quite a few mistakes. I did obviously have a lot of emotion. So me losing as much as I have in previous kind of trades and things like that, learn from my mistakes. Especially right now, you do have a great opportunity to buy a lot of good stocks as well with Lucid at cheap prices. So as far as that's concerned, though, I just want to briefly touch on some Fibonacci, because these are more of the macro level, and we are at a very pivotal point, like I've already mentioned. $18.05, which right now we are actually below that, but that is the pivot point. Again, we were above that briefly between the pivot and the R1, but it does appear that we are actually on that right now. If we do successfully close below that, then again, we'll continue to trade between the S1 and the pivot, which in any regard, we're still doing a lot better than a lot of other growth stocks out there. So take that how you see that. That might be a little bit more of a positive thing, but keep in mind, S1 is from 1520 to 1805, so it could be a lot of volatility during that time frame, and even within that, there is still a lot of strong support and resistance points that you need to kind of watch for. So with all of that, though, I just want to briefly go over this, some options activity. Options activity has been kind of mixed with Lucid for the last little bit, and so just today alone, $745,000 worth of options, only 4% positive. Even yesterday, $839,000 worth of options, only 56% positive. So clearly a lot of people are really not thinking that there's going to be a short-term gain for Lucid. So that's how I interpret all of that. Again, do your own due diligence. If you see positive things from any information, take what you will and disregard the rest. But overall though, you can even see based on this chart, the put/call ratio, it does appear that a lot of puts is being purchased. So clearly a lot of people are insinuating downtrend, but let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Where you see Lucid going in the short term based on the technicals and every other underlying fact. It does appear that most likely we are trending down, but again, I think that there's going to be a lot of dependence on this GDP numbers, because if there are surprise numbers that do come out and it's a little bit more positive than what we're expecting, then you know what, then we might actually have some nice justification for a rally, because looking on the actual technicals again, we are definitely far from out. We are on a lot of pivotal points, and like I've already mentioned, and if we can stay above those, then you know what, especially with good GDP numbers, we can easily trend up and continue our trend up, which again, it could happen, right? We are in a very interesting time period where there's a ton of fear, but yet you're getting a lot of great stocks such as Lucid at its intrinsic value, if not lower. So take that how you see that. But with all that, let me know your thoughts on Lucid in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.